This is day 1466. Accountability is here. Um, 1466 days since Richard, a Fort Bliss soldier, was murdered by his own internal, a soldiers murdering a soldier. Um, and, this is in July 2020, and we were made the investigators of his case, and we have collected lots of hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities, and have been putting them together as quick as we can, day in and day out, as quick as we can, putting together what happened to our son. And of course, we know now that he was whistleblowing to the IG, to the CID, to Washington, D.C., to the FBI, Houston branch of FBI, and also to CPS, Child Protective Services. He was asking for a transfer. He was not, let's just say, Major General Clem Coward decided to let it happen. Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz decided to let it happen. The general participated in the constant, severe, continuous retaliation against Richard. Richard did not want to play with Vanity Fair. He did not want to be part of Vanity Fair. We all know that we have to go through Vanity Fair in this life, but we don't have to participate. And Richard didn't. He blew the whistle. He blew the whistle on the criminal trafficking. He didn't want to participate in the lifestyle of Leilani Hart and her family, the incest, the pedophilia, the child sexual assault, the failing to even report those kind of crimes, the illegal weapons trafficking, the child pornography. Richard did not want to participate in that kind of lifestyle at all, not at all. And he reported it, and he reported it to many. And after the retaliation failed, they decided to murder him. And he was the whistleblower 24-hour security that he was under failed. The security detail failed to show up for duty, and Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room, from his own bed, and he was then taken and murdered, and brutally murdered. And our suspects are his platoon leader, Dallas Hart, also Tavita Nusa, the CID agent Tavita Nusa, that was having a sexual relationship with Dallas Hart's mother, Leilani Hart. And I would say another suspect now is Jonathan Caleb Embrese. Do not forget that his wife, Danae Katzen, and, well, we have it confirmed that he was with 143, and Danae Katzen targeted us. Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia targeted us. Leilani Hart targeted us. They've been obstructing justice. You don't obstruct justice in the murder of a soldier unless you're trying to hide something. And so to do what they're doing, to have done what they did, to have the connections that they have with KTSM to carry this out, to even do something like this, is so terrible, y'all. It's so, how low can people get? You have a volunteer young man, right? 18, such high aspirations, wants to be an investigator with the Criminal Investigative Division in the Army, right? Um, Inquired about it formally. I think it was on paper, so that's formally. What what pathway does he need to take in order to become CID? Um, you have someone that tries his hardest and succeeded by being the distinguished honor graduate for his cycle and basic training, um, and in AIT, advanced individual training. And you have this brutal murder after him saying, "Wait a minute, something is not right here. I'm seeing some things, and I'm saying some things, and yet I'm being retaliated against, to be silenced." And we know about the weaponization of our institutions, um, by what has happened at a macro level, and I'm talking about to President Trump. We see it very clearly, the weaponization. There's been books written about it, and we saw the absolutely disgusting and disgraceful testimony of FBI Director Christopher Wray, just the other day, not even a week ago, just the other day, that absolutely confirmed that he is weaponizing our FBI um, against doing his job to fight crime, right? To fight threats in the United States. He's doing the opposite. He himself has broken his oath that he has taken, and the trust and the goodwill of the American people. That's very, very clear. And so with Richard's case, um, I wouldn't say it's so much a micro level. I would say it's a macro level too in El Paso, because of the 85,000 missing children. And now we have 500 children a week, right? That's pretty macro. That's pretty big. You have 500 unaccompanied minors coming over every week. Where are they coming from? Where are they going? Who's paying for them? Right? What's happening to these children? How I mean, what is it? Did they get kidnapped? And we know through the arrests lately that um, right over the border, maps that I've been showing, and saying this is all suspect, is even infants being sexually assaulted, filmed. And this is not me saying it. This is, authorities in New Mexico and in El Paso saying the this child sex trafficking is absolutely horrendous, just abuse, total abuse. But we know that all child pornography is torture, is grooming. All pornography is child sex trafficking. We know that. And so they're trying to legalize it all, right? They're trying to legalize it, which means that they're up to no good. Um, and so Richard was right in what he did. Richard stood against the sex cult, against the evil, against all the trafficking, because we know about the brown tip bullets. We know about um, all of the equipment and the weapons being smuggled. We know, and this is not me saying it. This is not me knowing it. It's all been reported, all been caught. Sometimes by accident being caught. And we know about this fentanyl. We know about um, you, this Almayo situation is getting more and more interesting every day. And so this drug trafficking is a problem. So, it's all documented. It's not anything that we're telling people new. We're saying that Richard was reporting it and that instead of something being done, on the good side, they retaliated. So let's make sure that I'm on. Sometimes I forget and then my sound is not right or something like that. Uh, Thank you so much. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Marilyn. Thank you, Anicia. I agree that they all seem to have motive. Yes, and the motive. So accountability is coming now because we have been contact. Today was, we're burning the midnight oil. Look at, it's 12:02 here. Um, because we were contacted, they reached out to us today, that there are multiple investigations going on. They can't hide the LLCs. See, the LLCs, and I want to thank, um, and you know who you are, that provided information about the LLCs. The the more we know about the LLCs, and there's so much documented on it because of this happening in 2020, July 2020. Um, yeah, so there's a lot of people wanted money. They want money, they want contracts, they want to feed off of the system um, in a way that, let's just say, it's not to fulfill the oath of defending the Constitution, right? We have a system and we do pay our military, we do offer retirement, we do offer disability for those soldiers that have been um, suffered injury and are disabled. Uh, we do all that, but then there are some that take advantage of that system, um, and it really harms our country. And with the military, yes, that does happen. And then also with these LLCs, especially in 2020, and it left a paper trail. And so that is where the accountability is coming because it is absolutely connecting everything together. It's connecting everything together. The fraud, waste, and abuse, the employees, the ownership, the contracts, and more. All the applications. Um, and because it is government, we're supposed to be transparent. And there are, uh, LinkedIn has been pretty helpful too. There has been, this huge attempt to wash everything about Jonathan and Brees, about Dallas Hart, about James Courtney Hart, about Leilani Hart. They want Tavita Nusa. They want to, clean that all up so you don't see the connection. Or what they tried to do with Jonathan and Brees is what Danae tried to do, and that is to give you disinformation to frame a narrative that is, was so outlandish. It was what Danae, and you can hear it clearly in the truck call with Danae that we've posted up. And we are very careful talking to her because we're like, okay, we're concerned about the credit cards because, and she's saying that he is, um, what did she call him? That he was, not AWOL, missing in action, something like this. Um, MIA. Yeah, she said MIA. He's MIA. And the connections with Danae, with 3905 Bliss Avenue, with the further evidence that we have that connects that address to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. And now Jonathan Ambrose, the true Jonathan Ambrose, not what they were trying to frame him as and Danae as, just like, little like pickpocket lowlife scammers, right? That's what they wanted to portray them as to the public, to frame them as to the public. That's not what they are, okay? They are part of the system that have been very, very privileged. Very privileged. And have connections with those that, we have to, in the Halliday case, we have to work really hard to get that connection to make our complaints about our murdered son. Whereas they, absolutely have these, like, I want to talk to Bob Moore of El Paso Matters about our side of the story, about our evidence that we presented, about our receipts that we have, so that he knows what's going on. 15 times we've tried to connect with him. But we're not that privileged, right? But Leilani Hart doesn't seem to have any problem. Jules Tuganon Chan doesn't seem to have a problem. And I believe that this Bill Hicks connection. So you've got this lawyer connection. You've got Danae Katzen connection with Jonathan Ambrose connection, but yet they're putting them out there to the public like there's some low-life pickpockets, scam artists. And then you look and they have the Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia connection. They have the police department connection. They have, the chief medical examiner connection, right? He's getting what? Way over $400,000 a year. That, hey, let me get on the phone with my bud Mario. Let me get on the phone with my bud Mario. Hey, we need your help. You're the chief medical examiner. And with Jonathan going to West Point, you have to have connections to get to West Point. At least something really good, right? Some good references. So, all those connections, the whole case is the accountability is here. I'm when the authorities ask us, well, how do you know this? When, they've always depended that we wouldn't know, that we wouldn't know how these people are all connected and what would be the motive. What is the motive to kill Richard? And how would they dismember Richard? Who would have the skill set to dismember Richard? That is can you imagine that's what they're putting us through? That I have to get on a live stream and I can't get my son's remains, which I know that they have. Um, and we know the suspects, right? And we know how they're connected. We know how they're connected with Nadal Baim and Bradford Bugado, um, with other characters. We know why some of these um, really nasty people, like Corinna Adeline West, she's so nasty, y'all. These are sex cult nasty people. And why they would be so involved. Why would they fake it at the beginning? Because, they were faking it. They were, let's celebrate Richard's birthday. Um, let's mislead. Let's misdirect. Let's do this. Um, and I'd wonder, okay, wow, who are these people? Who are these people to be doing this and risking? Remember the whole pinata thing that we have on video. Um, who are these people that would risk by behaving that way? I mean, these are adults. They're not kids. When you're kids, when you're teenagers, you know, y- you can act. Um, it was. It's not their son that was murdered, and so what was making them angry? You know, and we've been, of course, totally devastated by this whole thing in more than one way. Over and above the murder of our son, because it's the betrayal of our military and the agencies, right? The um, when you have a hard time getting justice, um, it's such a betrayal. Justice is uh, it's how you can heal, right? It never, the wound doesn't go away, but it can heal. And if you don't get justice, you have that gaping wound all the time that's just, you know, spewing the pain and it's, I'm trying to make some analogies of everything that we've been through. And, you know, these people are so bold. It makes you wonder, how many times have they done this? Because I talked to James Hart. I talked to Dallas Hart. And we have reports that Tavita Nusa very, just on heavy drugs, medication, medication. Because when you do something like what he's suspected of doing, right? Because he has surgical abilities. Okay, and so you have somebody that has surgical abilities, and you have someone that has cybersecurity abilities to clean things up and sanitize as much as the trail, the connections. But it's just not that easy when you have years and years connections. It took us a while to find them, of course, but the connections are there with property, with the LLCs, with the contracts, with more, with more. Um, and so Bliss Avenue is a big one with the vehicles. The vehicles have been a great help, um, even though there's a couple missing vehicles. Um, Licenses are a big help. All these things you have to um, you just can't sanitize everything. You can use tons of different names. You can be an imposter, impersonate, scam, whatever. But the truth always comes out, and that they're so brazen when they spoke and they tried to pass on that fake travel voucher and which um and try to when Chris came on the scene, Chris Martin, so many red flags. So many red flags. I can't even tell you. And we were like, okay, all right. So that really stinks. That really stinks. What's going on here? Who are the agents? Who are who's protecting who? Who's misleading who? Okay. Um, let's, we didn't have the answers, right? We didn't have the answers. And, instead of crying out, well, I've been crying from the beginning, um, but you just being patient and working hard. Patience and working hard. And so this whole thing with Jonathan Ambrose connected to well, connected to Bliss Avenue. And Danae, of course, Bliss Avenue. Connected to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia Walmart case, Bliss Avenue. Um, and to know who they're connected to through all of their cyber actions. Um, the case is, let's just say accountability is here because that's why they're reaching out to us. The regulatory agencies, yeah, well, just they're reaching out. Why? Because they just can't cover up the truth. They can't cover for the lies, for the misinformation anymore. They just can't. And so, now they're all, it, it's going to be so interesting how this accountability um, comes about. It's going to be so interesting. And just pray because absolutely. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. This is not the end. This is just beginning. I hope everyone understands that. See, we had enough. They had even a little bit more, but we had enough. And even Bob Moore had to try his hardest to twist the narrative on the declaration of death for our son, to steal Richard's death story. And it's still out there. And, that we're working on that. We're working on that. El Paso Community Foundation should be really, really ashamed of themselves. And but we had enough, and we received the declaration of death with everything that went with it, except for Richard's remains. We needed Richard's remains. They can't just have Richard's remains and then get away with murder, because the declaration of death was admitting that Richard had been murdered. And please do not even give in to the hypnosis that it's anything else. The evidence is all there. Richard was a whistleblower. He was retaliated against. He stood his ground. He was absolutely beautiful. And they could not discredit him. And so they had to murder him. That's how they thought. They murdered him. And, the accountability for Dallas Hart, the accountability for Jonathan Ambrose, the accountability for James Courtney Hart, the accountability for Leilani Hart, the accountability for Tavita Nusa, the accountability for Jules Tuganon Chan and Bob Moore and Bill Hicks. Because Bill Hicks, he is not just the usurper of the 34th Judicial District Attorney's Office, okay? He's not just the usurper. He's not just the tamperer of elections for Yvonne Rosales. He signed his name on a lot of things. He's left a paper trail. And which is a good thing. So, all of these connections, all of these LLCs, all of these addresses, they just couldn't hide them forever. And it's all very, very clear that we're just now beginning now with the accountability. And that Jonathan Ambrose is who he is, and they try to paint a false picture of him. I want to get a better analogy. It's like they're really, it was just so, how can they even think about getting away with that? it means they must get away with it all the time. That the media lies to us all the time and paints a false narrative about people and places and things and events all the time. And that privileged people get promoted, and those that are doing the right thing, those that have moral background, get retaliated against, get smeared. Because let me tell you, what they did to Jonathan and Breeze is not a smear. They were absolutely protecting him. It was like, what is it in The Hobbit? You know, the evil guy, he puts on a dress so that he doesn't have to fight or something like that, right? You know, he looked really stupid in the dress, but you know, he was trying to get on the ship. That's what it was. He, you know, only the women and the children could get on the ship, and he, you know, dressed up as a woman. This is what they did to Jonathan. We're going to protect you. You're going to look stupid, but we're going to protect you. And that's my opinion. That's what FitFam El Paso was doing. And there's so much more with FitFam, right? There's so much more. And so the accountability, because you know we bought FitFam El Paso LLC. We bought it. Um, so what does that mean? You've got this for-profit LLC. What the whole tax thing needs to be investigated. That it's probably being audited right now, because they're like, what's this? The Team Fine Richard Halliday buys FitFam El Paso LLC. I mean, the amount of things that we have accomplished in this in order to be able to ask for accountability, to say, now will you give us accountability? Now? You know, it's like you've got to give them no, it's like you have to paint them into a corner where they cannot do anything else but give accountability. Look, Team Fine Richard Halliday owns FitFam El Paso. Why? Why do we own that LLC? Because it was forfeited. But it was still in action. Who was behind it? Well, now we'll know, because to audit it, you have to know. If we would never have bought it, then they might just go and buy it themselves again and say, oh, nothing to see here. No, we want to know who's behind it. And Jules is upset. He is upset. He goes and paints a false narrative around the death of our son. Attacks the character of our son, who can't even speak for himself. Paints they post it, right? They post it up. Paints posts it up, advertises it, that I'm on here without any evidence. That's false. He can do that, and that's okay? No. Then he can paint take Danae, who targeted our son's case, targeted us on the 28th of September when we got there, right? When we got there to El Paso, to move there for months, to rally every day, well, at least 4 to 6 times a week, right? 4 to 6 times a week, sometimes more, to get information about our son. We don't know who she is, but she contacts us, takes us to KTSM to do this. I mean, they roll out the red carpet for her, right? We're thinking, oh, they're rolling out the red carpet for Richard in our minds, that, but that's not what they were doing. They were rolling out the red carpet for her to put forth this false narrative. David Candelara did that. Well, that's because he has connections with Jonathan Ambrose. They're all connected. They have conflicts of interest. That's the like legal way of saying it. They have conflicts of interest like crazy. And where's Natasha Paloma Thompson, right? I think that's her last name now. Where is she? Because let me tell you, she knows a lot of things. And Jonathan Slavitt knows a lot of things. And I'm sure they were very scared. Richard was very scared. He was very scared. He asked for transfers. He went and bought a pistol. He was afraid for his life. He was calling out for help. He called multiple times. He called 911. Yeah. Yep. I agree. Where's Veronica with the third party investigator? Oh yeah, Veronica Escobar. Um yeah, no, she to me, and knowing what I know about West Point, it's, she has some questions. Hey, you've got the medical examiner. You've got the connection with 3905 medical examiner. She's, she was the judge at the time. All this time, all these questions, when Supreme Court Judge Scalia came through his body, and you had calls coming in saying, if you touch that man's body, I will have you in handcuffs, right? He never touched Scalia's body because he's illegal. He's unqualified. Where is Veronica Escobar on that? At least Bernal was smart to, when she sees the writing on the wall, the accountability. That's what the writing on the wall is, the accountability. And she resigned. The county attorney, right? Bernal. Yeah, Veronica, is it like, hey, I'll give you a reference for West Point for Jonathan Ambrose? That's another piece of evidence, right? What are they going to do? Whitewash that? Oh, he didn't have any kind of references to get in West Point. Is that what they're going to say? Oh, well, she didn't know. She didn't mean it. She didn't know. She doesn't have those connections with him. Are you kidding me? Well, maybe it was Beto, right? Maybe it was Beto. Um, they just try to whitewash everything because their lives are lies and deception and crime and scams at a super high level. You're talking super. This is criminal trafficking, and it's big money, and it's in collaboration with the cartels. There is not. That's my opinion. There is not a doubt in my mind, in my opinion, that this is in collaboration with the cartels because we have the pictures of the DOD. Remember the Department of State? We have the what was his council? Oh my goodness, I forgot. Um, he was pretty. He was pretty. He left. They all kind of seem to leave when it gets hot, but he at least had some decorum. He was a politician. And he's sitting there with the cartel. He's sitting there. That's how brazen they are. And this is a problem that's happening in Mexico right now. Mexico is in a real pickle, and the people are suffering. I mean, we always say how bad we have it here or whatever. Oh my gosh, it's so bad. Our government's no, we still have the right to have alternative media and to get the stories out, and I still have the right to do this live stream even though it might get shoved to the back, shoved under, our story doesn't rise to the top, whatever. It's like kind of like this. I've been hearing and getting information about Trump's assassination being, not even searchable, or it doesn't come up. They're trying to hide the what happened, and they can try to cover it up. And of course, things take a little bit longer, but the longer it takes, the more it gets exposed, the more brazen they look. Because, just doing a congressional and, you're asking the FBI director, hey, do you have meetings with the president? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, how often do you have meetings? Well, sometimes a lot, sometimes not so much. Do you have meetings with the vice president? Yeah, yeah. So when did you notice his decline? What do you mean? you know, I mean, a simple question like that. When did you notice his decline? His mental decline. When you're president of the United States, you cannot be in mental decline, right? You cannot be. You have to step down. So now he stepped aside. But when did the vice president notice this mental decline? Right? Still waiting. Yeah. Um, so, whose interest do they have in their heart? Where do they put their time? Where do they put their talents? Where do they, uh, you know, what are they trying to work for here? It's not in the defense of the Constitution. That's very clear. And, and I want to set the whole election aside. I'm just saying what is true. Who are they working for? because once all of this can be put out there, these different, when Nadal Bayim, well, we know Nadal Bayim is for Western Frontier Trading, right? Western Frontier Trading LLC. We also know that he said he was FBI. We also know that he has conflicts of interest with the FBI director, supervisory director, Jesus Nieto, right? Eddie Nieto Jr. And we know that his wife, Cynthia Nieto, doesn't have a shabby job either. She's intelligence on, uh, and I need to get her exact title because it's something else, let me tell you, um, on Fort Bliss. And and we know that he has conflicts of interest with the Hearts. Nadal Bayim has conflicts of interest with his son-in-law, Bradford Bugado, who was lieutenant colonel in the G3 of the 32nd ATCOM, Richard's command. And you know, it's once you start understanding this whole thing, from the from Richard's complaints to the Walmart mass shooting to Richard's continuous and severe retaliation to his murder, and then throughout this whole cover up. Look, the FBI, they've been notified over and over and over again. This is so easy to uncover. This murder is so easy once you know. And this is the thing. The reason why it's taken so long is because of the CID and the FBI and those 15 plus agencies working together to cover up. And now they're like, oh, it's the light has gotten through the cracks and we can't cover up anymore. And that's what happened today. And so the breaking news is that we received confirmation today that, accountability is here. So, how that's all going to play out, how that's all going to happen, because, some people, they really want to save their jobs, right? But the information is there. The hard facts are there. The evidence is there. The connections are there. And, how they're going to, the only way, see, this is the thing. The only way they can hide all of this is through all of these false narratives, the hypnosis of the public. But I hope that you don't fall for it. I hope that you pass this on, because it is not us saying that 70 children a day that are unaccompanied are coming through that border. That's 500 a week. We're not saying that thousands of people are dying from this fentanyl. How often is that? I mean, it's so bad. We've been contacted about that too. We're not the ones saying that ammunitions are being smuggled across the border. Weapons are being smuggled. Hand grenades, the bulletproof vests, right? That's all been documented. So has it been buried? I don't know. You got to go look. But we've received all that information, and so it's not us saying it. That's all corroborated. That's all validated. That's all verified. Richard was right. There's criminal trafficking going on. He reported the criminal trafficking, and he was killed for reporting the criminal trafficking. So, um, that's what we've established, and it's overwhelming now, and every day it gets even more and more overwhelming. Um, and thank you for sending the evidence that we have validated, that we have verified, that we have corroborated, that we have then used to identify. Because with all of our brains working together, you send me some information, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute, I know that name. I know that name. Oh, I know that address. I know that address. I know that Clint address. I know that Clint address. Yeah. And I know who lives there. I know, um, so I just want to thank you so much for sending that information. Um, every day, even with this El Mayo information that we are being sent is really telling, very telling. And I want to tell you more about that because it absolutely connects to Richard's case. But right now, we're just not at liberty until we have to be a little more patient. We have to be a little bit more patient. But I can tell you, you can't hide that Danae Katzen's married to Jonathan Ambrose, and you can't hide that they're both from Bliss Avenue, and you can't hide their past, who they're connected to, and who they targeted, and who they hurt, and what they confessed to. Okay? Just like Leilani's confession. So all of that information will get public very soon. And, we're very, very appreciative for all the information. Please do not stop. Keep giving it, because accountability is here, but it's just started. And we need to keep them on their toes. Keep them on their toes until they give us Richard's remains full accountability. And those that did this to El Paso, okay, did this to Juarez, did this to our government, did this to our military, did this to so many of the witnesses in Richard's case, and did this to Richard, are held accountable for what they did. So thank you so much. God bless you. We will be back. Thank you for all the individuals helping to get justice for the very first CONUS Death One missing soldier. Don't say missing soldier. He's a murdered soldier. He's a murdered. It's confirmed. And that is the very first CONUS Death One murdered soldier. I know his title is missing soldier, but the United States government confirmed Richard was murdered. Okay? That, they might not put it out on a bulletin board, but when they give you that declaration of death and they we're working towards getting Richard's remains. We have the receipts. All of that, and admitting it's on Fort Bliss. Come on. DES, DHS, DOS, FBI, CID. they confirmed that Richard was murdered. And this is really important because how can we let the perpetrators get away with murdering Richard on Fort Bliss footprint? You know, it just, yeah. So the truth has to get out there. And Richard is the Fort Bliss murdered whistleblower soldier. Code red. Internal. And they need to restore his ranks. They need to do a lot of things. We're just now getting started. So we love you so much. And it takes a long time to be sure of what we're saying, but we are 110%, 200%, 1,000% sure of what we're saying. And the suspects are Dallas Hart, Leilani Hart, CID Tavita Nusa, who has skills, dismemberment skills, surgical dismemberment skills. His brother, by the way, is mortuary affairs. And also Jonathan Embreeze. So I want to say Danae, but I'll just go with Jonathan Embreeze because we have it confirmed he was 143. Richard still hasn't been given to his family for proper burial. No. And they need to honor him for seeing something and saying something. Seeing something and saying something. Young. Believed in what they were telling him about defending the Constitution. Believed them when they told him about the creed, about esprit de corps. And then going into a unit and seeing that wasn't what they were doing. Seeing it and then saying it. Hey, they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. There's criminal trafficking going on. Hey, IG, there's criminal trafficking going on in my unit on Fort Bliss. Hey, CID, there's criminal trafficking going on in my unit on Fort Bliss. Hey, FBI Houston, there's criminal trafficking going on here on Fort Bliss. It's in El Paso. Hey, CPS, there's criminal trafficking going on here on Fort Bliss. Children are getting hurt. Here's the videos. Hey, 911, my life is at risk. My life is at risk. My Request for transfer has been denied. My complaints to FBI, IG, CID, CPS, Washington. Hey, Washington, D.C., you think you can help? What about the oath I took? What about the oath you took? Where's this esprit de corps? Is there anyone there? I need to go buy a pistol. I can't leave my room. I'm under 24 hours. Oh my gosh, my 24-hour security detail did not show up. Oh shit, I better hold on to this bed tight. Sorry. Talk about a nightmare. And the prime suspects are CID agent Tavita Nusa, platoon leader Dallas Hart, mother and sexual partner Lalani Hart, and DHS cybersecurity Jonathan Ambrose. Those are the suspects. And there's a lot that I've been covering up. So thank you so much. God bless you. And, we'll be back tomorrow. And we're just getting started with this accountability. So thank you. God bless you. Keep praying.